Hey everybody. It is actually the end of day 3 today. As you probably saw in the title, this is a combination video of day 2 and day 3. Yesterday I'd said in my day 1 video that I wanted to do about 5.3 to Hawk Creek or something like that. And ended up going all the way to Gooch Mountain. There was some people in the shelter Monday night that were really cool, and I wanted to stick around with them because they were teaching me a lot of stuff. So ended up doing 13 miles yesterday and did about 8.5 today, and that was just to get me to a campsite that's about 2 miles away from this 5 mile zone that you can't camp unless you have a bear canister, and I don't have any bear canisters, so I can't camp there. So I'm going to try and go to the Neil's Gap Outfitters tomorrow and maybe stay at the hostel and get a shower, which will be nice, and then go on from there. So that's the plan for the next couple of days. Kind of recapping what happened the last 2 days. I actually met a lot of good people the first night. There were probably 10 or so in our shelter area, and the first guy in there was hiking with his son, who had just gotten done with a semester or something like that, and he is also a Fiji. So first night on the trail, first person I meet is another Fiji, which I thought was really cool. I got a picture of us holding the flag at some point in this video, and then met 2 hikers from New Hampshire, Maple and 50 Foot, and they were awesome because they were able to explain a lot about sections of the trail that are coming up, because they've done a lot of sections, and now I have a better idea of like why Rocksylvania is called Rocksylvania, not just like it's bad in a very vague description. And then they were able to answer a lot of questions I had about the White Mountains, because that's where they're from and hike them all the time. So I feel a lot better about not having to worry too much about going through the Whites the time of year that I'll be going through. And they might meet up with me down the trail and hike with me, so that would be pretty cool. And then we all hiked to Gooch Mountain, pretty close to each other. There were groups that were splitting off, but we were going up through High Tower Gap, and going up the ascent, we kind of all stopped at one point, and I was wondering where the water was, and it turns out we'd already passed it. So I had about a liter of water at that point, maybe a little bit less, and we had to go get about 5 miles before the next water source. And so getting a little worried and having to ration my water. But then someone said that there is potentially a water buffalo that the military maintains at Cooper Gap, and that was only like 3 miles ahead, so I could definitely do that. And just after that happened, 2 Chinooks just came right over the gap, skimmed the tree lines, and shot off. They were like hauling. And turns out we must have gone through there right when they were starting another round of ranger mountaineering training. They do that between Springer Mountain and where I stayed last night at Gooch Gap, and it was wild. So that water buffalo was full, and big shout out to the Rangers, U.S. Army Rangers. Thank you for that water. It was well needed. There's actually 2 girls behind us that were in a lot of trouble, had completely run out of water and weren't eating, and so they got to rest up and probably save their lives, honestly, with that water buffalo sitting there. And then pretty normal night from then on out. Just went to the next shelter, and a few people went on ahead, and I'm gonna take the next couple of days easy and do some low mileage, get trail legs under me, and see how that all works out. Everything's been going great so far. Sleeping great, hiking great, making great time, eating as much as I can, because you kind of need to. And everyone out here that I've met have been really cool. I got pictures that I'll put after this in a couple of videos of some of the views that we saw today. Up until this point, it had been completely under leaves, so we couldn't see anything, but got a couple opportunities today for some pretty good shots. So you can guys finally see what I'm looking at around on the trail. Other than that, it's like, you know, I'm at a campsite. It's just kind of plots next to each other and the green canopy that's just covering everything. But it does make it a ton cooler having that shade from the leaves. So pros and cons to everything. All right, I will try to make another video when I get to the hostel tomorrow. Later, everyone. So one of the things I forgot to say in the earlier video was just wanted to go over like how I'm using this InReach. So I've got this strapped to my bag, and what I'm going to do is in the morning when I go out, turn it on and start tracking, and then when I get to the shelter at night, I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to keep recording all the way to the shelter, but I'm going to turn it off overnight just because I'm not going to be moving, so I don't want to let the battery die. And so if you see on the map, like I stopped, like today I stopped at like 1:30 or earlier, I think, because it was a real short day, and the InReach goes down. That's just because I'm camping there for the night. I've got an SOS button on it, so should I get into any trouble, I can just hit that and search and rescue will come. So just because you don't see me moving doesn't mean that I'm in any type of trouble, but it's exciting to hear that there are a lot of people watching the map and following the other stuff. So thank you, everybody. Later. This is the first real view that Georgia has given up so far. Most of the time we've been pretty sucked into the green tunnel with all this foliage. All you can see is leaves and some blue through them, but this is a pretty sweet spot. I think that one of these two is the big one that we climbed. I'll explain that in a different video.